physical human body that feels no pain, and I mean perfect and doesn't age. Okay? Just that. Imagine how cool that is. Not having to worry about your health, not having to worry about becoming decrepit, and also not having to worry about dying, because it says there will be no more death, no more sorrow, and no more pain. Period. It's very clear. Check it out. Now, let me just ask you, is that worth this short little miserable life to not take up God's offer through Jesus Christ? I mean, he's offering this to everyone, okay? God's word says that he will accept anyone who comes to him. If you will sincerely come to God, sincerely learn what he's about in faith, and do what he is saying for you to do in the Bible, which, as I have recently learned, essentially is giving up the pleasures of this life. In the moment of faith that you will get something so much more. What I realized about the paradigm of my own character is that the very things that I desire, the very things that I want, the very heart and soul of my passion, some of those things are good. But what happens is, in this world, in this satanically ruled world, it gets used against you. It gets tainted. It gets mixed in with something evil. And then it's used against you to ensnare your soul. That's why it's written, they have laid a trap for my soul. Because that's what the world is. It's a snare for your soul. Right when you want to go for your passion, whether it's singing, whether it's building airplanes, whatever it is, as you are doing that very thing, you say, well, what kind of God is this? He's not being fair and letting you live a life that's full and joyful. Well, you're missing the point. The point is that he's asking you to grow spiritually by realizing that we are born into a paradigm where our own passions lead us into destruction. And by following his word, just by following his words and leading a godly life, you will see that by giving up your own personal pleasures just for a moment and focusing on God and salvation just for this short moment, in faith that you'll get something better. That is what this is about. It's showing God that you're gonna give that up. You're gonna set your own personal selfish desires aside for a moment, just for a moment, because that's all it is a moment. I think when we see on the other side of death, the veil is lifted, and we see what's on the other side, we'll realize how bloody short it was, and how ridiculous it was for us to not set aside our own personal desires, which ensnare us just for a moment, to focus on God. That's why another key thing that I've noticed in God's word, okay? It says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. Now, first, it's kind of stumble on that a little bit. It's like, this is unreasonable. How come God is saying this? He's saying this because our ways and our thoughts are wickedness that lead us into destruction. That's what he's trying to tell us. He's not trying to tell us that, I'm a suppressive God that's not ever going to let you have fun, okay? I'm a suppressive God that doesn't know what cool is, okay? God doesn't like to drive a Porsche. I'm using that analogy to kind of say that, God does like cool. He does like good, fun things. But right now, you're born into the situation of where are you going to take somebody's word for? Are you going to take this moment to see that it's about giving up for a moment your selfish desires and following God and following God's word, putting aside for a moment my own personal pleasures, my own personal desires, just so that you can get something so much better.